Hello, welcome to Nahashon Kimeme Live, and today I'm going to be doing a descriptive video. It's a description of what transpired between four individuals, and it will be a blow by blow account of what happened so that we can understand that and perhaps learn from it. Thank you for all the guys who are subscribing. Big up. This was a topic suggested by a friend of mine. Her name is Beverly. Beverly, thank you for suggesting this topic. I hope that I'll handle it well. Hopefully, right? So, who are the four parties involved? There is one I call the innocent one, aka the irresistible one, alias the husband. His name is Joseph Kori Karue. He's 41 years old. He has been married twice. He drives a Toyota Lexus. He is a businessman, and he might have studied business communication at Kenyatta University based on his Facebook page. He lives in Garden City with his family. So that's the first person. The innocent one, I'll give reasons why. The irresistible one, because all the women seem to come to him, and the husband because, yes, this story is a story of marriage or betrayal in marriage. The innocent one because many of the people who talk about him fondly as a man who would not hurt anyone. So let's go to the faithful one. Her name is Grace Wanjiku Karaoke. She was the first wife to Joseph Kori, bibi wa kwanza. They have a young daughter, and she is 11 years old. Grace is a businesswoman. She operates a boutique in Kayole. She is a ride or die kind of lady because she still says that she'll still stand by Joseph, even though he now stands accused of murdering his second wife, right? She is prayerful because she prayed for him as he was leaving her. She prayed for their daughter and for him and for her marriage, Joseph's marriage. When he had left them, she lives in Kayole. So that's the second one, the faithful one. The victim, aka the home wrecker. A victim and home wrecker at the same time. That's a huge kind of title. Her name is Mary Wambui Kimangara. She is 39 years old. She's past what we'd call a youth. She is married. She was married. She had 2 children. She drives a white Mercedes-Benz. She drove. From the reports that I had from the media, I think I was watching Citizen yesterday, she had 9 blows to the back of her head. And she died. That's a hard way of dying. Their life expectancy rate in Kenya is about 60 years. I think it's around 67 something. She died at 39. That's young. She had around 40 or so years to go. She lived in Garden City with the family. With the innocent one, with the irresistible one, Joseph. They seem to have lived a good life. They had wealth, they had children, they had everything. And they had left Grace behind. She was no longer part of her life. So what went wrong? Let's go to the fourth person. The suspected murderer, aka Auntie wa Dad, alias the home wrecker. Her name is, I call her Auntie wa Dad, right? Because when she went to Mary's home, the first home wrecker, she asked the son, right, to call her, to call the dad. The son went and informed the mom, and the son went and told the mom that Auntie wa Daddy is asking to take me for lunch. So that's what happened, right? That's why I call her Auntie wa Daddy. And I usually say, the more a kid hears of daddy, aunties, and the more a kid knows uncles and uncles, then it's usually an indication of how immoral the parents are. Because aunties mostly they are, besides the natural ones, they're mostly the ones mpangwa kandos. Same go for the uncles. So who is this suspected murderer? Auntie Watati, homewrecker. Her name is Judy Wambui Mungai. She is 36 years old, 3 years younger than the initial homewrecker. She used to sell clothes, and she went for a trip to Singapore last Christmas. So if clothes can pay that much, perhaps I'll go into selling clothes. And as we're talking about clothes, if you'd like to have one of my sweaters, just say holla and I'll hook you up. So anyway, perhaps I'll go to a trip in Singapore. Who knows? She used to live in Tindigwa in Kiambu, right? Where the rent is, from the figures that I have, just for searching online, 35,000 per month. Selling clothes. So perhaps selling clothes is a good thing. Or perhaps there was something else to eat. Because she even bragged at a certain time to her friends that Joseph had bought her a new car. Joseph, the one who was married to Grace, but he moved on to Mary. Now he's moving on to Judy, buying her a new car. Her friends described her, Judy, as boastful. And so many of these women are boastful. They wear their nails, I don't know, to reach the sky or something. They always boast of something. And that's why Instagram, you always see hashtag to rivers, hashtag wherever. And they go back home and there's nothing there home. Except somebody's husband, perhaps. She lived in Four Ways Junction. She moved from there to Four Ways Junction, I think after Joseph had started coming through, where she paid rent of around 60,000, right? That's a lot of money for somebody who's selling clothes. But we all know she wasn't selling clothes. Sponsors. And they are always somebody's husband or something. So what happened between these four people? So let's go back to before 2008, right? There was only Grace and Joseph, nobody else in the equation. Mary and Judy weren't in the picture. These two people, Grace and Joseph, they met through a mutual friend and they immediately fell in love, according to Grace. For me personally, I do not believe that they fell in love, because love does not, it's loyal to the end. And it doesn't do things like leave you for another woman. Okay, Grace speaks of a man who knew how to love. Like Joseph knew how to, let's say, how to talk to her, how to calm her down, to making her feel loved. And that's the sad thing in life, isn't it? That those who make you feel the most loved are the ones who also break you down the most. That is a reality of life. And somebody says, pain comes when you expect much. Don't expect much from somebody, because they might disappoint you. Give to those who love you, true, but don't expect that they will always honor what you give, because things can change, and things did change. But before they change, let's go again through the story. Grace says that that Joseph could not stand to see someone hurt. And the family of the victim, Mary's family, right? They say the same thing about Joseph, that he would never hurt anyone. He doesn't look like that kind of person. And that's why I call him the innocent one. Because everybody speaks well of him, as if he wouldn't hurt anyone. As if he's not cheating on his wife. As if he's not leaving his wife and daughter for another woman. Everybody is still speaking well of him, as if he's not doing certain things already. Mother Teresa says, if you want to change the world, go home and love your family. Another person says, if you want to be the best father to your children, love their mother. So in this case, what was Joseph doing? Was he going home to love his family? So he wasn't changing the world. Did he love the daughter's mother? Because Grace had a daughter. He left her for another woman. So life with Joseph, Grace's life with Joseph, the first wife. Joseph was a rice trader, right? He traveled to Moya regularly. He marketed in retail shops. Like Moya, he goes and get the rice, and then he comes to retail shops and tries to market it, perhaps to those cereal stores or something. He was a hustler. And Grace saw something in this hustler, as many women see something in hustlers. And what is their reward for seeing that? For remaining faithful to them. So Grace ran a small clothes business. There must be something with selling clothes. There must be something. Because, okay, just to mention one thing. You remember that Imenti video? That was people selling clothes. Judy, the homewrecker, the second homewrecker, selling clothes. Grace, perhaps now lending some credibility to the people who sell clothes. She was selling clothes. And they struggled to make ends meet. And their first rental home, it was a single room. For those who don't know single rooms, it's simply one room. Think of your dormitory, think of your hostel room in campus, like in Moi, where you'd have just a room and then you'd share the toilets and the bathrooms. That's a single room. And they exist, there's so many of them. They paid rent 1,500 and then they upgraded to 1,800. How much rent do you pay? Think about it. Think about how small this guy started. So the breakthrough came through for this rice trader and this clothes seller. There was a breakthrough. If you maintain, if you persevere, there's always a breakthrough. What happened first was that Grace discontinued her business selling clothes, right? And she joined her husband in the rice trade because it seems that that thing was moving already. So you need to move into that area, focus your resources there, and then go with that one. There is no need of being a jack of all trades. And for people who have talent, focus on your talents. Personally, I think I'm trying to do that right now. Focusing on this analysis and these videos and everything, and living what I'm doing. Hopefully I'll succeed. All you can do is try. So this guy tried, and they moved into the rice trade. Then Joseph got a call from his uncle who lives in Nakuru. And the uncle invited him for a visit. And when they were there, the aunt told them about something that changed their lives. And this is what people need to realize. An idea is what matters most, not capital. If somebody gives you an idea, they would have changed your life. But what Kenyans ask for most is money. And that's why lives don't change for most people, because they don't focus on the ideas. And when they get the money, they don't have ideas where to put that money into. Again, speaking about relatives, what do your relatives do? What do you do as a relative to somebody? Do you give them ideas that can uplift them? Or are you basically a consumer? Somebody who keeps asking and asking and asking. You can also give, even if it's not money. Ideas are the most important. So anyway, what happened? The aunt, while they were visiting Joseph's uncle in Nakuru, they gave them the idea of selling timber. And this case thought about it and they said, you know what? This thing can work. Selling timber can work. So they had some savings, right? Grace herself had 100,000 bob in savings. So this guy is living in Kayole, living in a single room. They actually had money. How much do you have right now in your bank account? How much money do people, let's say the middle class, have in their bank accounts? Grace alone had 100,000. How much did Joseph have? I don't know. But we know that only a few Kenyans have 100,000 in their bank accounts. I think it's 5%. I'm not really sure. and fewer have more than that. We live from hand to mouth, most of us. And it means that you can still be living in, you don't have to just build up where you are before you move to another level. Because if you start moving to another level to impress people, perhaps you won't get where you want to go. And when an opportunity is there, like this case had an opportunity of timber, then you wouldn't have the money because you're spending it all on expenses. So anyway, just to move on. So this case, they got an idea. Then came the come up. The come up is usually a term used in hip hop. It means now you're heading to the top. So business blossoms. They have invested, including Grace, and business blossoms. And they have to employ casuals to handle their business. Their plan was to open another timber yard in the city. Because now they have a timber yard, now they want to open another one. As in, everything is moving well for these guys who started two, Joseph and Grace. And they started in a single room, 1,500. Things are now moving well for them. So what happens? A furniture companies, they start sourcing their timber from Joseph. And you know, if for the people who have done business, you know how important a repetitive customer is, especially when that repetitive customer is buying goods in bulk. That means you can buy goods at a cheaper price, because now you'd have to buy more in bulk yourself, like the timber now. So you can sell at a lower price to other people. You can actually now focus on other things such as marketing, instead of focusing on like looking for small people. Now you can focus on big people who can buy your product. So anyway, there was a breakthrough, right? As soon as furniture companies started sourcing from them. And then these guys, you know what they did? They won a tender to supply power lines for the Rural Electrification Authority. So that's another big deal. So these guys are moving on up to the big leagues. And they moved to a 2-bedroom house. Isn't God great? Isn't He faithful? And what they did, they bought their first car, a Toyota Premio. They employ a maid. And Grace is expecting their first child. Things are moving for this couple. They started two, Grace and Joseph, in 1,500 room. They're now in a 2-bedroom. They have a Premio. They have a maid. And this should be a lesson for many people, that people can actually start small. They can actually have a vision and they can move ahead. What you need to do is to adjust. And there is a saying, not the strongest survive, not the most intelligent survive, but the ones who are most adaptable to change. And that's why you would see people you'd consider idiots at the top, because they adapted to change as they moved on. That's why you would see people who did not score A's, who did not score first class at the top, because they adapted to change. And that's why you'd also see people who are at the top falling behind, because adapting to change is how you survive. It's not your intelligence and it's not your strength. So anyway, to move on, sad fact of life, Grace was expecting their first child. It was a stillbirth. It was a boy. For all the women who go through those kinds of stuff, I will look into it one day and I will speak about your suffering, because I know that it is there. Let's go from 2008 to 2010, because now we have been dealing with what transpired before 2008. So now we are 2008 to 2010. The next step for this couple that's moving forward together is marriage, because that's the ultimate goal and it's the most beautiful thing that you can do in life. So Joseph asked for Grace's hand in marriage. Isn't that a beautiful thing? He seeks permission from her parents who live in Kayole. He assures her that he would never leave her because they struggled together. Again, the innocent ones. People never think that they can do harm. But all harm results from certain actions. And even if you do not pull the trigger, even if you do not push the knife into somebody, your actions can lead to that. And mostly it's the actions of the innocent ones that triggers all these other things to happen. And they always say that they'll never leave you. They always say that. But if they weren't there for you out of love, it's only a matter of time when they will leave, not if they will leave. If they have started beating you, it's only a matter of time of when they will kill you. It's not a matter of if. So you need to start seeing the signs as soon as possible and running away. Again, I always tell people, the signs are always there. We are all equal, of equal intelligence. No one can lie to you unless you choose to lie to lie to yourself. How can you lie to yourself? By ignoring the signs, because they are always there. The fact that he tries to assure her, Joseph, that you'd never leave her, is a sign that there was something in him. And people usually say, it's not the person that changes, it's the mask that falls off. And this mask is about to fall off. So what happens? They have a child, a daughter, and you'd think that the child will bring them together. You'd think that that child will be the epitome of the promise of togetherness, of the promise of never leaving her. But that's not the way it works. Joseph starts drifting away. He starts being cagey. And I'm not really sure, because I have an experience, somebody, right? I know. As soon as the child came, the husband started acting dodgy. Because now where will the wife go? You have trapped her completely. Because even as men, it's very difficult for us to take a woman who has a child. Very difficult. Because then now you have to deal with somebody else. And then you don't know if that child will be obedient. Because obedience is a big deal when you're a man in your household. Because you need people to listen. So anyway, that's just a digression. She has a child. Joseph starts drifting away. He starts being cagey. He starts receiving calls from somebody, from what Grace suspects is another woman. And then when he gets home, he switches off his phone. Like he doesn't want calls. If you're a business person, switching off your phone is a big deal. And then he starts being moody and almost unapproachable. And this is what most people don't notice or don't accept, because they do notice it, right? When somebody starts pushing you away, when somebody does not want you to be close to them, when somebody isn't feeling you, they are feeling another person. Somebody else is approaching them. Somebody else is making them happy. And when you approach them, when you try to hold them, you are interfering with their fantasies of that other person. Because they don't want you. They want that other person. And that is a fact of life. And when you see those signs, start preparing to let go. Prepare your heart for heartache, because it's coming. So anyway, those were signs of cheating. Additional signs of cheating. Joseph would go to Nakuru and he would spend days over there without coming home. Again, he has relatives in Nakuru. True. But as a man, what would justify you spending days without your family, without being there with them, without training your children in the way they should go, so that when they grow, they do not stray from that way? Looking after your wife, loving your wife, what would keep you away from them? What would make you not bring them with you as you go? The answer is usually simple: another woman. And Grace suspected as much. But Joseph always denied that there was another woman, that there was another affair. He always denied that. But no matter how much somebody denies, the truth cannot be hidden. And they usually say, two things cannot be hidden, if I remember correctly. The sun, actually three things: the sun, the moon, and the truth. They cannot be hidden. We can only ignore it. We can only decide to look away from the signs. But we always know if somebody does not want us, if somebody is cheating, and if we need to start preparing for heartache, and if we need to let go. We always know. So anyway, finally, just now, a woman messages Grace and confirms her worst fears. The woman identifies herself as Mary Wambui Kamangara, and she would be in future the would-be victim. And the way she was wrecking her home, somebody would be wrecking her home. Some people might call it karma. Perhaps it is. What did they say to each other as soon as they started communicating with each other? Mary wanted Grace to know that Joseph has a new woman in her life, and that Joseph and her will be together, and that Grace needs to prepare to let go. So that's what she wanted Grace to know. So Grace calls her and tells her to stop dating her husband, Joseph. Grace tells Mary, right, that the couple already have a daughter together, as if Mary would care. When they break up a home, there's one ingredient that must be there, and that is selfishness. Otherwise, they would not do that if they're selfless. So why would they care that you have a daughter? Why would they care that you have built a home together for years and years? They wouldn't, because they only see themselves, and they have seen that they can take something from someone and it can become theirs. So of course, Mary does not care. So what does she do? She calls her boo, Joseph, who is also Grace's husband. So now Joseph is in the middle of this thing. The cat is out of the bag. So what does Joseph do? Joseph asks Grace to apologize to Mary. He's asking her to apologize to the home wrecker. He's asking her to apologize to the would-be victim. And you can see how the innocent one behaves. How the one who would never hurt anyone behaves. It is an assault on her dignity. Because now you're asking her to apologize to somebody who should be apologizing to them. You are defending somebody when you should be defending her. And you know that she is weak. Otherwise, you wouldn't ask her to apologize. And because she is weak, you can take advantage. So what does Joseph say? He tells Grace that Mary is the one who gives them the timber contracts. So now it seems that the income of the family is in jeopardy. Because unless Mary is pleased and unless Mary is satisfied, then perhaps those timber contracts would stop. And what would happen to the family? What would happen to the daughter? And then Grace believes, because it took long for them to build this relationship, to build this marriage. She believes perhaps that she can apologize and diffuse an immediate bomb, right? And slowly she can handle the situation, because slowly they build up that home, that relationship. But you see, here's the thing. There's a certain lady who always used to advise me, right? Nash, never give the devil room. Never do that. And this is what Grace did. She gave the devil room. I'm not saying Mary was a devil, but that she gave the devil room. And what happened? The affair between Joseph and Mary, it blossomed. Because now they had found enough room for it to blossom. And now it was out in the open, so they could do whatever they want without hiding it as much as he was trying to hide it. So any other details? Can you imagine this, right? A friend of yours is calling, and then that friend is telling you, why didn't you attend the housewarming that your husband was throwing? So it's kind of like, what? He threw a housewarming party, and he threw it in Nakuru. He had bought a home. Joseph had bought a home, and Grace was hearing it from her friends. She had been isolated that much. So she asked Joseph, and Joseph again telling her that no, I'd bought that home. I didn't want to tell you. I'm furnishing it. You and our daughter will be moving in soon. Again, the lies, as soon as they start, they never stop. There's a reason why Jesus called, he called somebody, I can't remember. But he said, the devil is the father of all lies. And there's a reason why St. Augustine says that any lie is a bad lie. Okay, it's bad. Any lie is bad. Because a lie grows. It gains its own momentum. And as soon as somebody starts feeling that they can get away with one lie, then they can feel they can get away with the second lie, and the third lie, and the fourth one. Because you have given the devil room. That's an advice for people who are in relationships, right? So anyway, Mary continues to, contact Grace, letting her know that she is the woman in Joseph's life. And she is already living with him. And finally, Grace had to accept that her and her daughter were alone. So in 2010, what happens? That was from 2008 to 2010. So 2 years of a lot of turmoil. So in 2010, there's something they call the long goodbye. Ronald Reagan died of what disease? I think Alzheimer's disease, dementia, because he couldn't remember things when he died. And the wife, who died recently, I think it was last year, sometime during the last half of last year, she stayed without him for a couple of years. And she used to write something. She called that period the long goodbye. Oh wait, when Ronald Reagan had dementia, right, and before he died, from that diagnosis to the day he died, that's when his wife called it the long goodbye. Because Reagan couldn't remember her, he couldn't remember her children. Dementia is a very bad thing. So she called it the long goodbye. So from 2008 to 2010, it was kind of like a long goodbye for Grace, saying goodbye to Joseph. But she didn't want to accept it. But it was coming, because the mask is falling off. So anyway, in 2010, Joseph finally comes back, packs his belongings, and leaves Grace cries as he leaves. She tries to make him stay, as if he would stay. She grabs his hands, puts them between her palms, and prays for him. She finally accepts that he will go. But again, remember, she always felt that she could sort it out slowly, because they had built that home slowly. But yeah, if wishes were horses, right? So he finally left on October 24th, 2010, and she remembers this day vividly. What about the daughter? Because they had a daughter. Joseph never visited her and the daughter again. It was as if he never had a daughter. And it's a sad thing. And I did something on that yesterday. A lot of households in Kenya, they are living with the mother alone, even though the father is still alive. Only 58.3% of the homes in Kenya, they have that mother and father. It's a big problem across the country. And it's these situations, they actually lead to them. And it all starts out of selfishness. Because it was in Joseph at some point. And he didn't say. All through the years, it was in him. And then Mary, she was able to bring it out in him and show him that he can actually get away with it. And she pushed it because she was selfish in herself. And this is what selfishness leads to. A daughter who has never seen, who never saw her father once he left. But he would send checks to the child, and people will say that that's the sign of a good father. That is not the sign of a good father. A good father is somebody who is there for his children. So the daughter usually asks about her father. Grace lies. He says that her father went to the US. The lies that we tell her children. How many kids right now? How many of us have grown up right now knowing that our fathers have gone to the US, or that our fathers died, or that our fathers disappeared? Tell your children the truth. Put their hearts at ease. Let them not have thoughts of one day they'll go after their father in the US, one day they'll search for their father. Tell them their father is there, he's a deadbeat. Or their father went off with another woman. And that's okay, because you're still my daughter and I still love you. I'll focus on that in future. So anyway, 2014, after 2010, right? We were in 2020. 2014, life goes on. 5 years ago, that's in 2014, 4 years after Joseph finally leaves, is when Grace finally decides to let go. That's 4 years of trying to let go and to move on with her life. So she stopped fighting to get Joseph back. She only requested him to take care of the fees and the books. Remember, in these 4 years when she's trying to fight for him to come back, he has never come to see her daughter, his daughter, right? So you're fighting for a man to come back who would not come to see his daughter. Is that a man worth fighting for? These signs are always there. We only lie to ourselves. Communication between them revolved around the daughter's fees, the books, uniform, and medication. As they always do. The first wife becomes the... Anyway. Mary continues to hammer Grace, sending her provoking messages and pictures. Because it's not enough that you already have the husband. You have to make someone feel that you have him. You have to hit that person, and you have to hit them hard. That is what selfishness does to a person, because you're never really happy. So you need to make somebody else feel like less of a person. So anyway, 2019, what happened to Joseph Kori? This one is 5 years after Grace finally accepts to let go. He is on TV. He is accused of murder in a Kiambu court. He's now famous, but in the wrong way. Infamous. He's standing next to another woman, not Mary. And her name is Judy Wangui Mungai, aka Auntie Wadadi, aka the second home wrecker. So how did it get to that point? He's on TV accused of murder. So what happened? Judy, Auntie Wadadi, visits Joseph and Mary's home in Garden Estate. So these guys had moved. He was in 1,500 single room with Grace. He left her, even though they had moved to a 2-bedroom and life was going well. So now he's in Garden Estate with Mary, the one who used to give him the timber contracts. So Judy, ironically, was a former employee at Joseph and Mary's hardware store in Kahawa West. So it seems that Joseph was always looking for something more than business or a formal working relationship with women. Who knows? So she was a former employee at the hardware store in Kahawa West. Mary suspected that an affair was going on. Grace suspected that an affair was going on with Mary. Now Mary suspecting an affair that was going on between Joseph and Judy. Again, the signs are always there. We can choose to ignore, or we can prepare for what is coming. So anyway, they drove. Now, so see, Judy comes and visits Mary and Joseph at their home, looking for, I think, the dad, right? He's not there. So the child goes, Auntie your daddy, he has come. So Mary comes and to see this Auntie your dad. He finds Judy, and then they decide to pretend that they're friends. So they go for a lunch date. At the lunch date, they stop over at Thika, where Mary picks a parcel. They head over to Homeland Inn along Thika Road. They eat githeri in the car, and then some 2 men arrive separately. Mary and Judy eat nyama choma with these 2 men, and they drink wine. Again, Mary is married. She took the husband of Grace, right? So now she's eating and drinking wine, eating nyama choma and drinking wine with 2 men. And the woman that she's suspecting that her husband is having an affair with. I don't know these 2 men. I don't know their relationship. Perhaps it's something that's not suspicious. It might be also something that's suspicious. But anyway, you can see the kind of character that's forever ongoing. So Mary and Judy, they pretend that they are friends. They actually take selfies as they eat this kind of stuff. And women have this idea. I don't know how to put it, but in Kiswahili they usually say kupimana. Kujua na ndo mjinga, ama kujua na ndo mwerevu or something. That they're trying to play around with each other's minds, right? And it's a stupid kind of move. It's always a stupid move. Tell the truth. If you are cheating with my husband, right? Don't try and pretend as if it's something good. It's something bad. Don't be friends with snakes. Because at the end of the day, snakes bite. And they bit. So anyway, the 2 men left after the lunch date. And then the women stay until 5 p.m. Having fun. Pretending. Friends with snakes. Please, listen. Snakes bite. Stay away from snakes as much as possible. So anyway, Judy, the 2 women leave for Judy's home, right? You are Joseph's wife, current wife, right? You are leaving to go to Judy's home. Judy is the home wrecker who's trying to break your home, but you're going to her home in your white Mercedes Benz. So they go to Four West Junction where Judy lives. The rent somewhere around 60,000 based on what I'm getting. So Judy has pictures on her wall. Guess pictures of who? Pictures of Joseph. So I think what happens is that Mary is incensed. An argument ensues, turns into a fight. Somebody loses that fight. Mary loses that fight. So someone wraps Mary's body in bed sheets, puts it in a sack, I think a gunia, drives it to a nearby dam. That's at 1 a.m. So guys were having lunch, taking selfies. They left at 5 p.m. And at 1 a.m. a body is being dumped at a nearby dam. Again, I'm telling people, don't be friends with snakes, because snakes bite. So anyway, that's how it ends. The body is discovered on Sunday morning. It was at a dam in Juja, at a toll station on Thika Road, next to Courtesy Beach Hotel. Mary had a deep cut on one side of her head. She had bruises on her hands. And then from the reports I had, she was hit 9 times at the back of her head, at the back by a blunt object. So that's a sad way of dying. Joseph, he was arrested at the dam where the body was. He says that he got to where the body was through a Facebook post on Kilimani Moms. Kilimani Moms has a lot of stories. I'm not a member of that group. I would not join it. Anyway. But it led him to the spot. And he led the police to Judy, his mistress. So here's the lesson I think that we can learn from this couple, right? Number 1. People hide their true character. They might be with you as you struggle, but then they are preparing to stab you in the back. So be careful with people. Remember, the signs are always there. You are not a fool. You are only ignoring the signs. And eventually, it grows. And those guys, they are only looking for an opportunity to let their mask fall off. Because it's hard being, living a lie. It's hard living a lie. So you're always trying to take that mask off, but you don't have an opportunity of doing so. So we'll go on pretending until that time comes. And then when it comes, when it presents itself, you will run with it to the bitter end. And Mary was an opportunity for Joseph. And if it wasn't going to be Mary, it was going to be somebody else. And again, if you are selfish in yourself, right, it does not end well. It does not end in happiness. Because selfishness means that there is a hole inside of you. And you're trying to fill it by hurting other people, by taking what is theirs and bringing them to yours. Because that person is happy. You want their happiness. You want to make them feel as though you have won something. And that's it's an empty hole, and it will never be full. And it might give you one temporary moment of laughter, one temporary moment of joy, but it is never enough. So for the selfish people who are out there, who are seeking for other people, it never leads into happiness. And you're only harming yourself, because you can actually be happy by letting go of your selfishness. By learning to give instead of taking from others. When it comes to Judy and the others, right? That's what happens, right? If you are a boastful person, if you need the other person to feel harm, then I think Judy invited Mary to her home, right? So that she can boast of, you see, Joseph is mine. Look at all these pictures. He comes here, we do this, we do that, right? And her friends described her as boastful. They say pride comes before a fall. Hubris is dangerous. And in this case it was, because it led into a fight. And that fight led to murder. And that murder is now a court case. And your life is over. And you were just bragging the other day. of how you had it made, right? And Grace was crying the other day of how she had lost her husband, but now somebody has lost her life. So anyway, I just wanted to give that description of that. I hope that I did justice to it. Bev, tell me if I did justice to that topic. I'll be handling other topics in future. Give me topics. I mostly do analytical stuff, but I can do descriptive once in a while, just to remind people of, for a lesson. Perhaps there's a lesson in that. So anyway, at 5 p.m. next on Monday. Thank you guys for subscribing. Again, if you want any of my sweaters, holler at me. I will hook you up with a sweater. I think I'll say the price tomorrow or on Monday. So anyway, take care and have a good and peaceful evening. Bye bye.